And I believe we're live. Give me a second, just getting all my screens set up and making sure to pause that. Okay, guys, welcome. Welcome back to the Understanding E Mastermind webinars, live streams, whatever it is that you want to call it. And yeah, apologies that it's that we've been quiet for the past couple of weeks. To give you a heads up, you're stuck with just me today. It is Matt's birthday, and it's quite a big one. It's one of the ones with the 0 at the end. So he's company policy here at Understanding E that you have your birthday off. So Matt is around. I know you may have seen, if you have him on Facebook or you've seen any of the posts, he's definitely around, but he's not allowed to work. That is the policy that we have. So yeah, it's just me today. And with that said, welcome to everyone who's I know there's still a few people joining the live chat as we speak. Please feel free to say hi in the comments section over on the right hand side. Let me know that you can hear me okay. And to give you a rundown of today, I'm going to be giving you an update as to where we're at, what we've been up to, and how things are going with Understanding E. And then it's going to be very much a two-way street this week. I want you, if you've got any questions that you want answered, you want to start any discussions in the comment section, please do. That's what, I'm on my own here. So again, it makes it a lot easier for me if I've got people who can interact with. But also, I know that last week, I think it was Nick who asked where we were or why there hadn't been any masterminds, and I know I asked then if a few topic suggestions people wanted to talk about, so I have got some answers ready to discuss those. They largely revolve around software, Magento, and so on. So with that said, kicking things off, update as to what's been going on. So firstly, I want to kick off with apologies for anyone who tried to access the site on Sunday. For the past few weeks, we've been under some sort of attack from some Chinese spammers. You don't see anything on the front end. You won't notice any different on the UE site. Just in the back end, we see all these registrations to the site from these made-up names. And poor Tina's been trying to go, our assistant team is trying to manage these spammers coming in, delete them, but as quick as she's deleting, more ones are coming in. And then it all really kicked off on Sunday, so much so that the site actually sort of went into self-preservation mode and started locking genuine visitors out. Matt had spent a large part of yesterday trying to find or fix this problem with various firewall things, various IP ranges blocked. We then also brought in Simple Servers to see if they could help. They could access, get any more information about what was happening. At the minute, we think we've cracked it. Along with Matt and Simple Servers, we think we've managed to block out most of where the spam was coming from. So yeah, I've not had any more reports of the site being funky or anything going wrong. So if you do see anything, please let us know. You can either message the Understanding Facebook group. I know people did that. You can message me directly. People did that. You can email us. People did that. And collectively, I saw that, oh, this isn't just one issue. This isn't just a caching issue. This is a big, big problem. So thank you for everyone who reached out. It helped us identify, and the screenshots you sent, you helped us identify what the problem was a lot quicker. Scott, thank you for joining, and I will get to your question in a moment. I'll just go through some more of the update stuff that we've had going on first. So firstly, where have we been? Why have we been away for a couple of weeks? So I think the last one of these that we did, I was in France, I believe. I was in France. And the internet connection wasn't great. I was hotspotting the phone. So I was on holiday and traveling. And then on the following Tuesday, I was traveling. I was driving back from Folkestone up to Reading. And obviously couldn't join the meeting at that time. And I know Matt I'm not sure if Matt was ill on that Tuesday. I know he wasn't well at some point, so maybe he wasn't. I think he may have been in bed or asleep or had some sort of cold flu thing going on, so he wasn't around. Then the following week, Matt was away. He was on holiday. He was in Spain, and he pretty much was under orders to take a full break. Don't try and join anything. You know, just enjoy your time off. And I will tell you where I was. That comes on to the next one in a moment. But I couldn't make it either. So that's why we've had a few weeks break. Things were getting in the way, holidays and other things, which I'll come on to in a moment. But I genuinely thought that it's August. A lot of people go on holiday. The chances are they're not going to miss us too much if we miss a week or two. So it was very nice to see that, you know, we were missed. People did miss the webinars, and you guys let us know, which, again, really appreciate. Hence why we're back. What else have we been up to? Moving home is a big one. As you can see, I'm not in the Manchester apartment anymore. I've been having a battle with, in fact, I think that's where I was last week, where Matt was on holiday. I'm pretty sure that's where I was. I was dealing with solicitors and stuff, because to give you an idea, I agreed to sell the apartment in Manchester back in April. It's now August, and it's been nothing but a headache. I just want to say my solicitor's been great. It's the buyer solicitor who's been not great to deal with, is the polite way of putting it. But fingers crossed, I got the exchange went through last week, so that's all going ahead. So I'm busy trying to deal with all that sort of stuff. So it's just been a hectic few weeks with holidays, with moving house, and all this other stuff going on. Chinese spammers. It's all been a bit like, oh Christ, you know, we've not been able to focus on one specific thing. What else? Software. Me and Matt, you've known about this for a while. Me and Matt have been working on software, albeit we've had the concept of different software ideas in order to help you sell more online, do what you do better, take some of the pressures away from your in the process of running an e-commerce business, and allowing you to focus on what you do best. That's sort of like the core of what the software that we've been thinking about has been based around. For various reasons, that has taken a back seat. I was speaking to Matt last week. He seems raring to go in order to get the software, or the first software product, out as soon as possible. How close that is, I'm not 100% sure, because I was only speaking to him yesterday about this. There was an issue, again, with my very limited understanding of software. There's two ways of doing it, of loading basically the inventory information that we need, and we didn't know which way to go, which coding language to use. So Matt's task yesterday was to find a solution for that. Obviously today is his birthday, so I've not bothered him, but we are hoping that we will see some movement for the rest of this week into next week, and hopefully have something viable for you. Hopefully by early to mid-September, fingers crossed. So that's what we've been working on there. Also, another thing which I want to really mention is John Hayes. John, I'm not sure if you're watching. I know you often do if you can. But John has written another book, and this one's a bit of a different route to what his usual ones are on thought leadership and email marketing and marketing in general. This one is actually about cycling the Algarve. Now, for anyone who wasn't around or didn't realize, but earlier this year in April, myself, John, and two of John's other friends, Chris and Ian, cycled across the width of Portugal for charity for Crohn's and Colitis UK. We raised over £1,300. And this is, I think, the third or fourth time John has done this. This was definitely my first time and Chris's first time. Ian had done it once before with John. And there's a video on the Mank Entrepreneur YouTube channel where I sort of documented that journey. So you can check that out if you want. But this book actually documents the journey from John's perspective over doing it 3 separate times. And it's fascinating. It gives you a great insight. And I just wanted to plug John's book because I think it's you'll get, for anyone again who was following the journey online, the book is a nice, deeper understanding of it. I've managed to proofread it, and it's funny as well as telling the story as it needed to be told. So definitely, I'll keep you up to date with that. Again, I've got an interview with John on the Mank Entrepreneur channel coming out to discuss the book, the process of writing a book, and content creation in general. So keep an eye out for that. Okay, so Q&A style webinar. Let's kick things off with questions and answers and stuff. And we're going to kick things off with Scott's question in the chat. Any info on eBay checking barcodes against a GS1 database? We've been trying to catalog white label parts, and eBay help are telling us they are not valid. I hear Amazon is soon going to be checking the same based on some info a GS1 agent told us. The honest answer, Scott, have I got any info on eBay checking the barcodes, is no. I don't have any info on that. Do I think they're going to do it? Absolutely. It would make perfect sense. I know for years now, eBay and GS1 have been talking to each other as 2 entities. The scale of the task that they have is a pretty big one. It's, you know, you think there's GS1 UK, there's GS1.com, there's GS1 all over the world, and each territory tends to have its own format of barcodes. Here we use the EAN, Japan uses the JPN, I think, or the JAN, or whatever. But yeah, you get the idea. There's lots of different barcodes wherever they're issued throughout the world. And then you've got to correlate them to the different marketplaces, even if the same product is spread across, if you're doing cross-border, it's spread across different marketplaces. So the task at hand for GS1 and the barcodes on eBay is not an easy task, and I'm not sure how they could bring something in quickly in order to start penalizing those products which don't have EAN numbers or any sort of product identifier next to them. As for catalog white label parts, if you are white labeling the parts and you're creating your own brand against them, then obviously part of that has to be that it's a unique product. You're either adding value to an existing product by making it better and therefore making it a new product, or you're adding a brand. For example, to this golf glove, I was doing some consultancy the other day, and that's a brand. So this is a standard golf glove, but this is this golf glove. And it's a very nice golf glove as well, by the way. But that needs its own barcode because it isn't just any old golf club. It is Grip Pars golf club and golf glove even. And it's exactly the same with any product. So if you're sticking a brand on it, if you're white labeling it, it needs its own product identifier. I'm not sure how eBay can turn around and say they're not valid if you've got the barcodes from GS1 and you've allocated them to your product, your white label product. Yeah, no, Scott, GS1 isn't. I think, was it Hannah you were talking with in the Facebook group? GS1 pricing isn't crazy, and it's a license. You are licensing barcode. You're not. Right. Okay, we were getting them from a third party. That could cause issues. Again, if they've been pre-registered before, are they allocated to a different trademark, different brand name? Who knows? It could lead to problems. The best way, if you see white label and creating your own products as the direction that your business is going to go in, and from a third party, not in the room, so as a third party in the room, talking to you about this, that is 100% what I would do if I was going to start selling products tomorrow. I would be building brands. I would be white labeling products, value adding products, because I think that is the direction. I think dropshipping is dead. It's slowly dying, and white label, private label is the new dropship. So yeah, sign up with GS1. It isn't expensive. They have the tiers based on how many products you sell, or how many inventory items you have. and you pay a yearly membership. I think the minimum is 100 and something pounds a year. It works out at a pretty. It's one of those. If you're going to do it, it's worth doing properly, and if it's going to be a key part of your business doing white label, it's worth it. It's the right way to go. And that way will mean that when Amazon and eBay come and start looking at the GS1 database, they see your product matches up perfectly. That's going to help your sales. So yeah, I would recommend GS1 if you're going to take, if you've acquired some items that need barcodes and you've maybe got one or two, and you don't see that changing, and you don't see that you're getting more and more of them, then sure, risk buying a couple from the third party. But if it's going to be a core part of your business, white label products, GS1 is the way to go for sure. Okay, so I hope that helps, Scott. Sorry, I haven't got anything more official from eBay and GS1 on that, but my take on it is, again, if you're going to build a business for the long term, you want to make sure it's you're doing so the right way, and utilizing GS1 is the right way of doing that. Next up, we have alternatives to Magento. Now, this came up in the Facebook chat last, sorry, not the Facebook group, not the chat, last week, when we were talking about where we'd been and what you wanted to talk about. And a few people come out and said that Magento, they were asking a lot about Magento 2, which I'll come on to in a moment, and where we stand on Magento 2. But also there was a bit of a conversation going on about alternatives to Magento. So as always, we know that Magento 1 is still active. It's still supported. They've not end-of-lifed it yet, and it still works. It's still stable. It still works. There's also the likes of WordPress. Now, WordPress is great. It's very simple to use. And it would be a great place to start. If you're starting small, WordPress is great. Most people are familiar with WordPress now if they've ever used a blog before. You can tie in WooCommerce, WP Lister, and boom, you've got multi-channel e-commerce software. The problem comes with complexity. So WordPress just doesn't scale like Magento does. The number of reasons for that, but ultimately it comes down to the core part of the software, the core piece of the puzzle, which relates to the listing, the WooCommerce piece, the e-commerce piece. WordPress is great. For a blog, for a content platform, it's fantastic. For an e-commerce website, it's great up to a point, and then it has its limitations, is what we'll say. So if you are running a smallish business and you don't see yourself having thousands of SKUs, WordPress could very well be a nice option for you, but it won't do the complex stuff. And that's why me and Matt have always been advocates of Magento, because Magento does scale. It scales incredibly well. It works very well for small as it does for large. Yes, there's some added complexity, and that's where UnderstandingE came in. We tried to take away that complex part and put it in plain English for you. Then people mention Shopify. Shopify is even simpler than WordPress. We discussed doing a Shopify course last year when Shopify was booming and everybody was, jumping on the Shopify bandwagon, and Shopify's stock price was going up pretty damn quickly. And then they announced, the problem with Shopify was always the multi-channel part. They didn't fully have that. And then they announced their eBay and Amazon integrations, and they were incredibly, incredibly limited. I think they only did eBay.com and Amazon.com, and they could only do in dollar currencies. And as far as I'm aware, they haven't updated that. They haven't released a better version of that. So as far as multi-channel e-commerce goes, Shopify just doesn't work unless you're an American who only wants to sell in America. That just doesn't work for us. The opportunities are cross-border, especially now with Australia, booming even more with Amazon down there. You want something where you have access to global markets. that and the fact, again, that Shopify this year, the growth is slowing down quite dramatically. They're still growing, but not as fast as they were last year. They could be heading towards a plateau. And I think this is because a lot of people were using Shopify for drop shipping. And as we soon realize that drop ship is no longer an avenue for the many, but for the few, that a lot of businesses that tried to go down the dropship route are failing, and the margins aren't there for them to operate a business on. So that's my thoughts on Shopify. Scott, you've added, we use Limworks to drive Shopify. Use this to replace a big Magento 1.9 store. I mean, Limworks is okay. Again, the user interface from our point of view isn't totally sensible, especially when it comes to doing imports and product imports. Unless they've done a new update, their old system was pretty archaic. And again, Limworks, it's one of the cheaper solutions out there, and definitely one of the better ones out there for the price. But again, it's not what we'd call third generation. It's not open source. You can't get into the nitty-gritty of control that you can with Magento. Limworks is very much a second generation e-commerce software, whereas Magento would be third generation. That's what we've always aimed for, the third generation, because it's a generation of choice. You pay for what you need, not for what you don't, and you have ultimately control. So if Magento doesn't do something that you want it to do, you can pay developers to go and make it do what you want it to do. With Limworks, you have to put a support ticket in and hope that one day their coding team gets around to doing it. That's our general thoughts on not just Limworks, but the whole of the second generation. And then finally, one which I was talking to our good friend Chris Astley last week as well, and he's actually doing a bit of digging into a software called ShopWhere. Now, I don't know much about ShopWhere. I've heard the name before, but I've never got hands-on with it. But apparently it is one of the larger multi-channel software solutions that is currently run out in Germany. So I know Chris is, and it looks like they're looking to really expand into Europe. So I know Chris is doing some digging onto ShopWhere, and he did agree to come on to one of these hangouts, one of these masterminds with us, and talk about what he found, what he thinks about ShopWhere. Is there an opportunity there instead of Magento? Blah blah blah. So we will see. That's on Chris. If you know ShopWhere, again, let us know in the comment section below, or head over to Facebook in the UnderstandingE members group and share your thoughts there. Because ShopWhere is a new one on us, but like I said, if it's a viable alternative, then it's not something that we will ignore. Now on to Magento 2. I know there are other software providers out there, but they're the main ones which came up in the chat from last week in the Facebook group. So they're the main ones that were mentioned. So I wanted to give you a rundown of our opinion on them, and then we come on to Magento 2, and I get asked this a lot in the forums. Obviously, they're still going well, the forums, and people still want our update on Magento 2, and are we going to do courses on Magento 2 and everything else. So I'm sure Matt won't mind me speaking on his behalf here when it comes to this, because I know that we sing very much from the same hymn sheet on this. Magento 2 is now better than it was. They obviously it was always going to take time, and now they've had time. You know, Magento 2's been out now for will it be 2 years or 3 years in November? I think it'll be 2 years. And what we've seen in that time is obviously more extensions working with Magento 2 and more functionality getting added, which is what we were used to from Magento 1. The problem still stems with two big pieces. The first one is the migration from Magento 1 to Magento 2. Now, it can be done. You'll probably need a developer. In fact, you're more than likely going to need a developer in order to do the migration. And funnily enough, they're not going to do it for free. So that's one aspect. And that's something where me and Matt have spoke for hours about how this would work. And our general thought on this is like, what would we do, as with everything that we do with the UnderstandingE, is like, how would we do it? If we run an e-commerce business, what would we do? And I think we both came to the conclusion that actually what we would do is keep Magento 1 running, well, full stop. But if we were forced to move to Magento 2, we would keep the Magento 1 database alive for all old order history, all customer information, everything that you need, and literally start afresh with Magento 2. And then only do an import of inventory, obviously. And that was it. So we wouldn't want to import across orders or customer details, because that would cause unnecessary bloat onto a new system. Why would you put 4, 5, 6 years worth of order details and customer data into a brand new system, when actually you could just leave Magento 1 there, pretty much lock it down so people couldn't access it, but you have the records there. You could log in, do a quick search for order numbers, customer details. That seemed to us like the safest way to do, until it got to a point where that had ultimately expired. So that's the sort of angle that we were always toying with. Is like, if we were going to do Magento 2, we would probably just do a fresh build from scratch. Right, here's Magento 2, fresh install, away we go. So the migration was always one question. The second one was the lack of MAGME. It's pretty well known in UnderstandingE that I'm not the MAGME guy. The data stuff annoys me more than anything else, because if there's like a full stop or a forward slash in the wrong place, the whole import doesn't work, and that's really annoying. So, however, it's when you realize the power of MAGME. MAGME as a tool is incredible for vast data imports, and as it stands right now, there's not a fully released version for Magento 2. Now, I was speaking again to Chris Astley a couple of weeks ago, and he said someone has gone into the MAGME GitHub, and they have done their best to make MAGME work for Magento 2. It isn't perfect. It's quite simple. It won't do the complex imports, but it can do some stuff. So that's another thing worth considering, is that if your business relies heavily on MAGME, Magento 2 just isn't going to be right for you. So where do we stand on Magento 2? Genuinely, if you are running a multi-channel e-commerce business, Magento 1 is still the platform to be on. It still is. And people can still get roped into the shiny syndrome of, oh, it's Magento 2, it's one newer, blah, blah, blah. Ultimately, the functionality that Magento 2 offers you is not worth that upgrade if you're running a multi-channel e-commerce business. If you just want a website, fine, use Magento 2. But we're looking at the angle from multi-channel e-commerce software, and that is why Magento 1 is still our favored solution. Chris agrees with us. Again, you can see it in the chat last week. He's been working much more extensively with clients on Magento 2. I actually know someone who was using Magento 2. They migrated from Magento 1 to Magento 2, tried running with it for a month, and then actually asked their developer to put them back on Magento 1. There's only so much that me and Matt can repeat ourselves when it comes to this. We are literally trying to help you out. We've got nothing to gain from saying stay with Magento 1. We're just saying, what would we do? We're going to stay with Magento 1 until either A, it's no longer a viable option, or 2, something better comes along, which would work for your business. And right now, there's nothing really better. So, I mean, that's how we stand. We, again, spoke with Matt last week. We probably will roll out a Magento 2 introduction course, Introduction to Magento 2, and getting started probably with that, and then maybe do the M2E integration. But there's still a lot of unknowns right now, because as we covered a few weeks ago, Adobe have bought Magento, so we don't fully know what their direction is going to be. A few months before that, Amazon announced that they were going to be they've been working on a direct integration with Magento, which then raises questions around that. How is that going to work? A native Amazon integration built into Magento? Is it going to be better than M2E Pro? Are we then just going to have M2E Pro for eBay? Or is Magento then going to do an integration to eBay? Who knows? So there's a lot of ifs, buts, not, maybes and everything else in Magento circles right now. And that puts us as educators, I guess, in a tricky spot. Think of it as being a teacher. You're trying to teach pupils how to do an English and pass their English GCSE, but then halfway through the year, AQA or EdXL or whoever the exam board are come out and go, ignore that. This is what the new test is going to be on. And you're like, whoa, we've just spent 6 months getting students ready using this method, and you're now telling us that that's rubbish and we need to do it this way. That's the situation that we're in, and it sucks. And we've been here before. For any of the old school UnderstandingE members, you'll remember it took us a while to do the M2E Pro Amazon integration, and there was a very good reason for that. And that was because we were getting told there's a brand new integration coming in, a month's time. Oh, it's been pushed back a month. It took it from the point of us saying, right, we'll do the Amazon integration with M2E Pro for Magento 1. I think it took 9 months before we eventually got, before that release came out, and we could then go, right, yeah, this is what we need to do. What we could have done is actually record the original way of doing it and then re-record the new way of doing it. But we didn't know that. We kept getting told it was 4 weeks away. And this is the problem that we now see ourselves in. We were told that we'd have an Amazon integration by Q3 this year. What if we don't? Do we still do Magento 2 M2E Pro integration? Or do we wait for Q4? And then if Q4 doesn't happen, everyone's busy with obviously Christmas and Black Friday. Do we then wait till January, February? And what if it's still not ready? What do we do then? So we've been in this situation before, and it's very difficult. And this is one of the challenges of running a business which is based off the back of another business. It's like we literally have to react to what they do. And right now, don't get us wrong, Magento's not going anywhere. Adobe is only going to make Magento better, bring it out to a wider audience. They may turn it down a SaaS route. That would seem like the most likely thing that Adobe would do. That's their sort of modus operandi. And with Photoshop and stuff like that, they now do monthly packages. So we expect Adobe would probably do the same with Magento, put it in one of their Creative Suite packages and put a SaaS model behind it. That's not necessarily a bad thing. That's just, these are the things we can only speculate right now as to what they would do. So yes, Magento 2 is still very much on our radar. Magento 1 is still the place to be if you're selling on multi-channel e-commerce, and it is the right platform for you. If you're got big ambitions to grow your business and scale up, then WordPress is not going to do it. And Shopify, it doesn't do multi-channel globally. So in our point of view, Magento is still the place to be. Magento 1. And we'll let you know. Trust us. We will let you know as soon as Magento... We'd love Magento 2 to be amazing and have all these great, integrations and work, because it gives us then some new great content that we can give you, and, we can reach new people who've never heard of Magento before. But remember back to day one of UnderstandingE, me and Matt always said we would never lie, and we would only ever tell you advice that we would do. And we stick by that. So right now, would I set up a Magento 2 store to run an e-commerce business? No. I would be running it on Magento 1. And that might not be the answer that you want, but that is unfortunately the answer that we have to give. Just being honest. Now, next up, I see Scott, you stuck another question in the chat here. No, I've got all the time in the world. Feel free to stick some more in, guys, if you're watching. Scott has asked a quick advertising question, if you have time. What advertising routes would you suggest for a new website? We sell custom phone cases. We seem to see 3 routes to take, but lots of options out there. Okay, I like these sort of questions. These are what get me get me up in the morning. So, custom phone cases. Firstly, it's a competitive market. It's a very competitive market, so you're going to need to stand out. You're going to need to stand out from the crowd. And you're doing the 100% right thing by building a website and going that way. Marketplaces are great, but again, like I said, for phone cases and customizable phone cases, it's very, very competitive, and you're going to need to do something remarkable in order to compete with the guys who've been selling for years and got, you know, listings pretty much welded to the top of search. So what advertising routes would you suggest for a new website? Right, for a new website, ultimately, a phone case is very visual. It's a very visual product. So, I mean, this is my old phone case. It's knackered. It used to be see-through, and now it's got all sorts of weird marks on it. But it's very visual. So the first thing when you think visual is you think social media, Instagram, Facebook, to a degree YouTube, but I'm not sure YouTube is your market here. I would say Instagram is probably going to be your biggest one. Maybe even Snapchat. Snapchat is an interesting one to try and use as a business. But again, you think about your target audience, dependent on the type of phone cases they are. But my initial instinct, and I've done no research into your market, Scott, so please feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. I'm going to say that I'm going to guess that the majority of your target 12 to 18 or maybe 20-year-old females as a general rule. There will be males in there as well, but I think 12 to 22-year-old, 20-year-old females is largely going to make up the most part of your target market. Where are the 12 to 20-year-old females hanging out mostly? Snapchat. It just is. It's a generational thing. They're not really on Facebook that much. The new younger generation aren't on Facebook that much, but they're on Snapchat. They are also on Instagram, and Instagram will have the bigger audience for you. So for me, again, I'm thinking, right, so you really need to start looking at Snapchat and Instagram, getting involved with it, see how it works, start following some influencers in that space, some people with large followings. On Instagram, it's pretty easy to do that. You could just, you know, do some searches for tags and find people with big followings, and reach out to them, offer to send them a phone case. And the other thing would be, again, do the same with Snapchat. I think, again, with visual products and a website, you can go down the traditional marketing route, which is absolutely what you should be doing as well. But I think you're going to see more impact going down the social route right now, because your target audience, they're savvy. They know what an ad looks like. They know what a Google ad looks like. They know what a Facebook ad looks like. You need to interact with them on an organic level, on a natural level, and that's where influencers come in. So that would be like my first thing, would be if I'm really going to get experimental with my marketing, I'm going to go down that route. I'm going to start looking for influencers, youngish teenagers with big followings, and reach out to them. In fact, I know someone who, a friend of mine is a fashion designer, and she does customized phone cases, but they're very, very sort of unusual designs, but she can engrave them with initials and stuff, and she does fantastic stuff. And Snapchat, she does a lot of work on Snapchat. And then obviously you've got the usual route of Google ads and Facebook ads, and just really you want to build that brand out and get your brand in front of your target audience. If you, again, I don't know what your network is like, but again, if you have any famous people that you know, or any people with large followings, reach out to them. I mean, I'm by no means famous, but I mean, I'm on Instagram. I think I have 1,500 followers. And a watch company recently reached out to me to be a collaborator, they called it, with one of their new products. So you don't even need to go after the multi-millions people because they cost a lot of money. Go small, go sort of macro niche, and you'll probably see some traction there. The other thing is also email marketing as well, retarget marketing. You really want, phone cases don't last forever. And they're a great product because you can sell them to the same person over and over again with different designs. With, they might want one for when they go out, for when they stay in, one that's funny with unicorns on it, or one that's more classy and glitzy. So don't you love it when you get some spam comments in the live chat? Someone professing their love for me. Wonderful. Unless that was a genuine member, and now I feel really bad. Sorry, went off topic there. Maria from Think and Stink. One thing we learned at Google Garage was to focus on SEO and get this right before paying for ads. Use your analytics to find out more about your customer behavior. Absolutely. I mean, SEO and social go hand in hand very well. In fact, there is a post going out on eSeller Cafe tomorrow, I believe, which actually talks about SEO and social media and how to get those two right. It's an information post. Definitely worth checking that out. Keep an eye out on eSeller Cafe tomorrow. Do you recommend an agency or our own employee, Philippine online perhaps, to handle advertising such as this, along with the basics such as AdWords, Facebook ads, etc.? Scott, this ultimately boils down to your personal preference. If you have experience with marketing, or is something which interests you and you want to explore that, then by all means do it yourself. Because you will enjoy learning about it, and ultimately you will get a reward from seeing the results. And if it's something which you're good at, you will see results, and therefore it will be a cheaper option than paying someone else to do it. If you couldn't give a monkeys about marketing and you would rather focus on supplier relationships, getting more listings, whatever it might be, and the marketing is a distraction for you doing that, then yes, outsource it. An agency is one way of doing that. And if you want a recommendation of an agency, I'm actually going to visit a friend of mine who runs a social media agency tomorrow in Wolverhampton in the UK. I can recommend him. He does great work. He's helped me. This is the person who helped me out with my Instagram. And by doing what he said, I went from, I think, 200 followers to over 1,500. So not huge numbers, but just by doing a few little things different, you do see big results. So he knows what he's talking about. And if you want to speak to him about how he would potentially help you, I can do an introduction. If you want to go down the online outsourcer route, that is also fine. That's definitely an angle you can take. I would just make sure that they have experience with this sort of marketing before. Definitely do an interview, find out where their key skills lie, and yeah, obviously you want to make sure that they know what they're talking about. We're not looking for someone to post to Twitter and Facebook. You're looking for someone to actively, manage a target audience, get clever with reaching out to brands and influencers and that. So ultimately, only you can answer that question. If you enjoy marketing, you can do it yourself and take some time out of your own day. But if it's a distraction to you, then outsource. Whether that be agency or a Philippine outsourcer who works directly for you, that's on you. That's like I say. And if you want that introduction, reach out to me in the Facebook group, and I'll happily put you in touch. So with that said, I'm just checking my notes. Pretty sure that's everything. Scott, thanks for your help. Anytime, Scott. Always here. Forums are always open. The Facebook group is always open. Maria, we tried an agency for 3 months and found they could not deliver, and we had to invest a lot of time in them planning campaigns. I said it was better in-house. Yeah, it's one of those. It depends. Again, it can largely depend on the products. It can depend on your target market. It depends. Why are all these spam people coming into the chat? We've it depends on there's a lot of variables when working with agencies. So it's not what works for one is not going to work for others, unfortunately. So that's that. Sorry, so yeah, just got rid of more spammy people. Who knew? Right, so guys, if you have any more questions, now's the perfect time to ask. If not, then I'll let you crack on with the rest of your day. Before you go, I want you, if you can, if you're watching this right now live, I want you to just scroll down a little bit, click the little thumbs up button, click that like button. And also, whilst you're down there, if you're not subscribed, hit the subscribe button. And then next to the subscribe button is a little bell. Click that bell, and you will get a notification every time we go live. To give you a heads up, it's usually every Tuesday at 3 p.m. UK time, whether that's BST or GMT. It's BST right now. But yeah, 3 p.m. in the UK is when we go live on Tuesdays. But in case you can't remember or you get distracted, hit that little bell icon and you'll get notified every time we go live. And also, like I said, if any other questions come in post live chat, stick them in the comments down below over in the Facebook group. Again, link is in the description, so no excuses for not finding out about us there. And yeah, I think that's everything. Share this video with friends or family you think might benefit from it. Yeah, so with that said, thank you so much for joining us, guys. We will be back next Tuesday. I'm sure Matt will be with us as well when it's not his birthday. And yeah, thank you so much for joining. Thanks for interacting, and we will catch up next week. I'll see you then. Bye.